I usually don't make videos this early in the morning. I usually do not make videos that are going to be as long as what this one is. I just got out of the gym, and when I'm in the gym, I listen to worship songs, I listen to sermons, podcasts, and 2 nights ago, I had a dream that I believe was from God. I believe it was a warning to me and maybe some other people that I don't know, maybe some that I do, friends, family. I don't know who this is meant for, but in the gym this morning, I just kept feeling this overwhelming urge just to share my story. So that is what this video is going to be about. Some of you know me, my name's Johnny. Some of you may not know me that's going to see this video, but this is how I got to where I am right now. So I was raised in church on and off. My grandparents took us to church a lot. It was just a small church, maybe 10 people. It was older people. It was a Wesleyan Methodist church. And I can just remember laying down under the pews with my little micro race cars and just other cars and just playing, as kids do. So after that stage of being a young kid, kind of went in and out of church on and off. And then whenever things actually got a little more serious with reading the Bible for the first time and just making it a habit as a family, it's whenever I lived in Helvetia. It's just a little town in West Virginia. I think I was in 6th grade, middle school, somewhere in there. And one of the first, we hadn't started reading the Bible or anything yet, but one of the things that we had done was we had played with an Ouija board. Now, some of you know what that is, some of you may not. It's nothing that you want to play with. But I remember doing it and wondering how the things were moving. I didn't know if it was moving on its own. I was just young, but I remember having candles lit and they would just go out. So it wasn't long after that, my 2 brothers and I and my sister all had one room together. I was on the top bunk. We had bunk beds. I was on the top bunk, and then my youngest brother was over beside us, and then my sister had her own bed there. So there was one night in the middle of the night, I was sleeping fine, and I just woke up. I don't know why I woke up, but I did, and I jumped off the top bunk, and my feet hit the floor, and as soon as I did, I just kind of like froze. I didn't know why I was up. I didn't know why I got up. I didn't know what I was doing. But there was a window straight out from me that is usually pitch black, and for whatever reason, this time it wasn't. This was my first encounter with something from the spiritual realm. And I was looking out the window, and there was just this, looked like a woman, a figure, and I could just see half of her body, and she had her hands like this, and she was just looking up. And there was this light just beaming down on her, and this figure was not moving, but she had a shirt on that I could see, and I could tell what was on the shirt. So on this shirt was beer mugs, and they each had different colors, like a green one, a yellow, an orange, and a red. And the figure never moved, it never looked at me, it just was still. And I thought, well, I went back to tell my mom, and I went to knock on the door, and I didn't, because I thought, I'm crazy, I thought she's not going to believe this. Nobody's going to believe what I'm seeing. I'm just crazy. So I went back to my room, and it was just pitch black out the window. It was gone. So at this point, I just crawled back in bed, and I just went back to sleep, just thinking about what I saw, if it was real. I just had no idea. And so the next day, I decided to tell my mom about what I seen. And I met her in the hallway, and as soon as I told her what I had saw, she looked at me, she said, "I'll be right back." And that's all she said. And she went to her room, come back out, and she had a shirt. And she asked me if that's the shirt I seen. And I was like, yeah, that's what it was. So at this point, I didn't know, but my mom had started reading the Bible and getting into the Bible. And looking back at it now, I think there was like a spiritual war going on. And I know from that point on, we started reading the Bible as a family. She burned that shirt, I believe. We burned all the stuff, the Ouija board, everything, we burned it. And this is the Bible that I got. This was the Bible I got when I was in middle school. And this Bible was important because it also plays a big part about where I am today. So we'll fast forward from middle school into high school. I wasn't in church. I stopped reading. I stopped trying to do things that were pleasing to God. I was living my own life. And after high school into college, ended up dropping out of college and going into the oil field. So I started drinking. I wasn't drinking every night, but I was just looking forward to the weekend. You know, everybody at my age then and my friends were looking forward to Friday night, Saturday night. Just wanted to drink. But I still had this Bible. And at the time, I'd moved back in with my grandma and my grandma and grandpa. And I had this Bible. And I had this thought. I was like, you don't need that Bible. Put it in the closet. But I also had this other thought saying, nah, just put it right here by the TV. You might want it. So I set it right in plain view in front of my TV. I played Call of Duty a lot, and it sat right there by my PlayStation 5, or PlayStation 4 at the time. But the Bible sat there in plain view, and I never opened it. So after a while of living there, my grandma, like I said, she brought me up in church, totally against drinking, and she didn't like whenever I would come back and be hungover, stuff like that. So I ended up moving out, and I moved in with a friend. It was very close to the bars, and also I packed this Bible up and took it with me. Whenever I moved in there, I had the same thought. I put that away. You're not going to need it. And I had that other good thought. Hey, just put it where you can see it. You might need it. So at this time, I had a bigger television, a 60-inch TV. I watched it all the time. And I set the Bible right there in front of the TV and never opened it. But I always had this thought in my head just to put it there. You might need it. So I did. And after a few years of living there and just drinking every weekend, you know, I got to the point where I dreaded the feeling I was going to get the next day from drinking. But I felt like every day I was waking up and something's missing. I don't know. I mean, there has to be more to life than just going through the motions is what I felt like I was doing. But I would drink because it was fun in the moment. But at a certain point during the night, I would just realize, you know, this is awful. And I would feel panic. I would feel shame and guilt and I was depressed. It was awful, an awful feeling. And I just didn't know how to give it up. So there was one point where I was still living here with my friend that I thought I'm going to open the Bible because I had this thought in my head. I kind of knew what I was doing was wrong because I'd started praying some and things started getting revealed to me a little bit, but I wasn't ready to give up my lifestyle. And I started thinking selfishly. And I was like, well, I'll just read the book of Revelation. That tells me how the world's going to end. Because I always believed what the Bible said, but I didn't try to live this way. Because I always thought I have time. I always had these thoughts that I'll just read the book of Revelation. I know how the Bible's going to end. I'll get saved before it ends. I had these thoughts like, well, before I die, I'll be in the hospital. I'll have time to get saved. I have time. And that's one of the biggest lies the enemy will tell you. So I started praying for my family to get back together. And I had two people in mind whenever I was praying about that. And when that started to maybe, in my mind, I thought it was starting to get true. Starting to come to truth, what I was praying for, and I thought God was giving me what I wanted. So as that started happening, I stopped reading. I stopped praying, and things got worse for me. I gave up drinking for a while, but I started having really bad panic attacks and anxiety and depression. And it was the first time I'd ever experienced it that hard, but I knew I didn't like it, and I felt like there was nothing I could do to get rid of it. So my son was getting a little bit older at the time, which was another big reason why I wanted to quit drinking. So I moved into a bigger house by myself, and that is where things got really, really, really bad for me, because I was going multiple weeks without drinking. I was almost there to give it up, but one of my friends would be like, just come out, have one drink. And with me, I couldn't just have one drink. I had to buy drinks for everybody. I had to be I had to have everybody like me, you know. So there was one day I'll never forget. This is whenever my life changed. I was just sitting in a recliner watching football. It was after a night of drinking. I was by myself, and just out of nowhere, I just gasped for air, a real big gasp of air, and my heart started pounding, and I started panicking, and I could not calm down. And I was shutting myself off from family and friends who were trying to check on me. I was ignoring phone calls. I was not answering texts. They were starting to worry about me. And my mind started telling me if I talked to anybody, I was going to die. And I paced back and forth at my house for 2 days. I was calling off work. I was terrified to leave my house. I was just doing anything just to feel something, to feel alive, because I didn't know if I was about to die. And finally, I called an ambulance to come get me and went to the hospital, and they told me I was having anxiety and severe panic attacks. So they put me on medication, and I told my dad about it, and he come down and stayed with me a night. But nobody really understands what you're going through at this time unless you've went through it yourself, you know. And when I had moved into this other place by myself, I took this Bible with me. Same thing. I put it right there in plain view. Where my bed was at, I could look through my bedroom door frame into the living room, and my Bible was just sitting right there just like this. But I never opened it, never had any thoughts to open it. So at this time, I wasn't really sure if I was going to be okay. I didn't know what was happening to me. But I have a really good friend who's from Buchanan, who lives in Tennessee now. And he goes to a church in Tennessee. The pastor is Pastor Greg Locke. A lot of people may have a negative opinion about him. They don't know him. Some people have a positive opinion about him, but I know that what he preached on and the steps he took out in faith helped me a lot. And my buddy told me, he's like, I think you should tune into his live streams. He just started preaching about deliverance, and it's something I'd never heard about. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. So I started watching, and they had literally just started preaching on deliverance. And as soon as he started talking about these things, I started having these scrambling thoughts in my head that wasn't mine. It didn't seem like it was from me. And they were thoughts of like, oh, you should just kill yourself. And then I had another thought, like, I don't want to kill myself, because I know what happens, or what I believe happens, if you take your own life. Something I would never do. But that thought was in my head, and I didn't want it. So I kept watching him, and I asked my friend, I was like, what do you think I should do? I mean, I need help. And he said, I think you need to have a pastor come pray for you. So I was like, okay. I knew a pastor. I'd went to his church a few times back when I was praying for my family to get back together, and I had confided in him. So I reached out to him and asked him to come pray with me. And I wanted him to come. I wanted him so bad to come to pray with me. And he said he was on his way. And the moment he pulled in, I just had this anger just come out of nowhere. And like I could feel my facial expressions move in like an angry way, but I wasn't doing it. I didn't want those. I was like, why am I feeling like this? I want him here, you know. But there was something evil around me, like a presence causing all this affliction inside of me and tormenting me on the outside, trying to get it inside, that didn't want him there. So when he came in and prayed for me, I felt peace that I hadn't felt in a while. And after he left, I had those same thoughts sort of come back. They're like, well, it's just temporary. You know, it's not a fix. You're not fixed. You're never going to be okay. And I just felt so awful. I was like, why am I going through this? Why am I living like this? Why is this happening to me? And I just remember I went to the bathroom. It was in the wintertime, and it was daylight outside. There was no sun shining, beaming though. And I just remember shutting my eyes and just bawling. And I just told God, I was like, I need you. And I said, I can't do this by myself. I don't want to. And that was the moment, I had my eyes shut. And it just felt like a warm light hit me. But it was at that moment, it was just like a hug, a warm hug. And I knew I was going to be okay. So after that, I went back to my bed because I was still battling in my mind. And I just laid there. And I remember rolling over. I could see this Bible. And a thought entered my head. It wasn't mine. It said, if you want to live, you have to open this Bible. So I went and got it. I started reading. And before, in the past, when I would read, I was reading for answers for my situation. I was reading for answers to the things that I wanted that were selfish. And I was praying for things. And I learned from the Bible, you have to be careful what you pray for. I was praying for God to be closer to God. I was praying to have a relationship with Him. He presented me so many opportunities to accept Him and turn to Him, and I turned away from Him, but I kept praying in those desperate times, and finally He laid it out for me. He's like, hey, I'm right here. You need to accept me. This is what you've been asking for. And He made it known that He was answering my prayers. I just had to accept Him. So I started reading, and with some guidance from some pastors and my friend, and the more I read, the more things started to make sense in life. Why I was going through the things I did, how everything I'd done in the past, all the sins that I had committed, all have consequences. I thought I was a good person, but I wasn't a good person. I'm not a good person now. Nobody is good. We are good by our standards, but by God's standards, nobody is good. So I started reading, and then there was a point where I was reading, God told me that He was going to heal me, that I was going to be okay, but it was not going to be immediate, because I needed to learn from my past, from my selfish ways of demanding God answer me on my time when I wanted Him to, just when I called upon Him. I didn't have a relationship with God. I wasn't staying with Him daily. I was just turning to Him when I wanted something from Him. So yeah, He let me know I was going to be fine. I was going to be okay. I was going to recover from this, but He was just it was going to be a little bit of a battle, but there was also going to take some time. And so after that, I made the decision to move from that place, and I moved into another home. That's where I'm at now. It's family owned, so I'm thankful to have them. But I made another decision to go to Tennessee to Pastor Locke's church to be baptized. And when I went into that tent, I just felt that overwhelming peace and presence that I felt from that hug in my bathroom. Whenever God hugged me and just told me everything was going to be fine, the moment I got saved, I felt that same presence at that tent. So I got baptized there, and at this time they had a movie coming out. It's Come Out in Jesus' Name. So I decided to go to that movie, and I'd never went through deliverance in person. I'd never done any renunciations. I've made a video on my experience with this movie, and I'll tell you a little bit about what that is now. So I went to the movie, watched the movie Come Out in Jesus' Name. It's a great movie. I still watch it. At the end, Pastor Locke has you go through some renunciations if you choose to do it. You don't have to do it. If you want to, you can. So I did. And there were some people in front of me that needed some prayer, and I didn't know what to do. I just remember shutting my eyes and just praying. praying what I knew how to pray, you know. And when I opened my eyes from the prayer, there was an older elderly lady standing just a foot from me, and I didn't know who she was, never seen her before, but she just come up to me and she said that she felt drawn to me, that she felt like I had a good heart, but I was struggling with some things, and she asked me if I was dealing with any loneliness or anything like that. And at this time, she come close to me and she just put her arm around my shoulder, around me, and her arm was up here on my right shoulder. And as she was hugging me, I just started telling her about my life, everything I've been through, why I was there, and I just kept talking to her like I've known her my whole life. So I just keep talking to her, and as I'm talking to her, my right shoulder starts getting really hot, and it feels like she's taking one of her fingers and just drilling it down into my arm, just deep. And as I'm talking to her, she's got a grip on me, and she's an elderly lady that should not be this strong, is what it feels like to me. But I just keep looking at my shoulder, wondering why it's hot, and I'm looking at her, and I'm just going back and forth, and I don't know what's going on. So as she's doing that, she finally releases her arm off me, and at this point, I just feel like I'm going to collapse. But at the same time, my feet feel like they're getting ready to come up off the ground, and it was the lightest, most peaceful feeling I've ever felt in my life. That's the best way I know how to explain it. So after that, I went back home. I received a dream. This was the first big dream that I received after being saved, that I didn't know at the time, but it had showed me future events that were going to happen with some of my family. And this is how God answered my prayers that I were praying before I got saved, of bringing my family back together. I had a vision for what I wanted for when I was praying for my family. It was 2 people, but God had a bigger vision for my family. So I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning from this dream, and I took out my phone and I was typing in the notes. I wanted to type it all before I forgot it, because I thought you always forget your dreams, and I didn't want to forget this one, but I haven't forgot it. But it took 12 pages to type everything. So the dream starts out, and I'm walking up this hill, and it's wintertime, and the person beside me, it looks like my dad, but I'm not sure. And we get up here to the top of the hill, and there's somebody had shot a buck. My family's big into hunting, and my uncle is who it looked like was up there, and he's at the deer. So I asked my uncle, I said, "Did you shoot this deer?" He said, "No." I asked my dad, "Did you shoot this deer?" He said, "No." I asked him a third time, and they said no. So at this point, we're standing there together, and the dream transitions from winter to like summer, and there's another guy. I know who he is now. I'm not going to mention him. But I didn't know why he was in my dream at the time. I could see him clear as day, and it looked like we were at our hunting camp that we had went to. He was drinking, playing games. There was a dog running around. I didn't know why he was there. So from that part of the dream, it just kind of transitions, and I'm going down just like a path, a grassy beaten path, and that beaten path turns into like a road, almost like it's under construction. And as I'm going down this road, there's 2 people that come in front of me, and it was a woman and a man. And as we're going, these walls start forming up around me, and they're small at first, but then they get bigger and bigger and bigger as we keep going, and I just have this feeling to stop. So I stop here, and this path is huge going this way with big walls, and these 2 people were trying to get me to go. And I was like, nah, I don't need to go that way. So I turn back and look, and up here on my right-hand side, it's like this, it's a smaller wall I have to climb up, but there's like a small vent that doesn't look like I can get through it, but I know I need to go through that vent. So I'm struggling to get through there, and those 2 people behind me are trying to get me to come back, but I'm fighting to get through this vent. And as I fight to get to the other side, I see this figure coming after me that I don't know how to explain what it looks like. It's just like a scary figure. It's coming through that vent after me. Once I get through the vent, I come out into like a barren hill, and the first thing I see on the left is like a giant tree, like the size of houses. It's just roots, tree roots, and I'm able to hide inside those roots. and this figure runs around the other side of this route over the hill to where I can't see yet. So after it passes, I decide to come out and I walk the same path. It's just like a bare dirt road, and as I round it over, there's like smoke. It's like it's orangish, there's haze everywhere. It just looks like everything's dead. There's no life, there's no grass, there's no living trees. All the trees are uprooted, and it's just giant trees and roots everywhere. But there's one path as you come down through there, and as I'm coming down through the bottom, I can see thousands of people up on my left. I can't see any faces on them. I don't know who they are. I don't know why they're there. But as I go to the bottom, there's a little flat spot below the hill, and I just feel the urge to pray. And I remember kneeling down and praying, and I have my eyes shut. I'm down like this, and my eyes are shut, and I'm on the ground. I can't see anything. But as I'm praying, I start hearing fire crackle, and my eyes are shut, but I can feel and see, like if you're looking through a fire, you can see that glow through the fire, how it just distorts a little bit. I could see that around me as I was praying. So I lift my head up to look up to see what's going on, and I'm at the feet of, I could just see 2 gold feet, and I try to look up, and it goes clear up through the sky. I can't see the top of it, but I also can't look at it. And at the same time, there's 2 more set back from the one in the middle. Same thing, goes straight to the sky, and I can't see the tops of them, but I also can't look at it. So I just put my head back down, and I keep praying and praying and praying. And the more I'm praying and the harder I'm praying, the more intense this feeling feels. And I just feel like I'm unstoppable. Like I have this big ball of just energy that I just can't contain. And finally I get done praying. I raise my head up, the gold feet are gone, and I go to turn and walk away, and I hear something crash behind me. And when I turn and look, it's like a wooden house structure that had just crashed. So after that crashes, I turn back around, and I just have this energy, and this fire is around me. I'm not in a fire, but it's just like the fire surrounded me, and as I'm trying to look out to all these people, it's just like a glow. Like if you're trying to look through the fire, you have that distortion through the glow of the fire. And I'm just pacing back and forth, and all these people are looking at me for something, and I don't know why. I don't know who they are. And then there's one girl who comes up to me, a little girl. I still don't know what this part of the dream means, but she asked me if I was okay. I said yes, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I'm sick." And I was like, I looked at her and I looked at everybody and I said, "We're all sick here." And I asked her what was wrong with her, and she said she had sickle cell anemia. I don't know what that means. I don't know why that's in there, but that's what was told to me by this person. So at this point, the dream transitions, and I'm walking with this person who's taller than me. He has blonde hair. I can't see his face. I don't know who he is, but I can make out his features enough to know that he's like smirking at me in a negative way, and I just feel like he is trying to trick me or do something that I don't want to do. And finally, we touch. I put my hand on him, and I just start praying over him and asking Jesus to heal him, to bring all the bad out of him and just fill him with his spirit. And at this time, I'm over top of him, just praying over him. And at this time, the clothes that he was in just shrinks and disappears, and it doesn't look like anybody's there. So I'm stand up, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's happening. Then I feel like a presence behind me, and I turn and look, and there's a light, and this person comes out, and it has a glow around him, and he's got like a white robe on, and he reaches down into those shirts and pulls out a kid. And it's a younger kid, and they just turn around, they walk off, and they just disappear. And this is the moment that I wake up. Like I said, there's people in that dream that are my family that have all come to Jesus now. And God did answer my prayer by bringing my family together, and I don't think he's done. I think that's the reason why I'm making this video. There are some of my family out there, and maybe friends, some that I don't know, that need to hear this, to know that they're not alone. If you're feeling some of these feelings, if you're having some of these thoughts, some of these dreams, You're not alone, and I just want you to know you're not alone. That just keep pursuing Jesus. Jesus is the only way. He is the one and only way to get to God, to get to heaven, and He can save you from anything you're suffering from. He can heal you. You just have to choose to follow Him and to accept Him. So that is the main reason I felt compelled just to share my story. Lately, I've been struggling a little bit. I've been struggling in my prayer life. I've been struggling going to church consistently. I've been struggling reading, and the dream that I had 2 nights ago, it started out, it almost looks like I'm in that same trailer in Helvetia. And there was people gathered there. I don't know who they are, but out the front door, there's a wooden enclosure on the porch, but there's still an opening to go down these 3 little steps. So I'm going out this door on the porch, and there's this little bird. It's green and yellow, and it keeps flying at me like he's trying to attack me. So it scares me at first. So every time the bird tries to fly at me, he keeps falling. It's about the 3rd or 4th time he does this, and I realize that the bird is injured. So I put my hand out, and he flies up and just rests on my hand. And as I go out, there's like hanging bird feeders with water and other things in them. And I just take the bird to the feeder, and he just goes in. And as he goes in, it's just like filled with water, it looks like. And when he comes back out, I try to help him because he couldn't fly, but the bird doesn't need me anymore, is the feeling I get. It's what I'm being told in the dream. And the bird just flies away. So he flies to the corner house and disappears. And at this time, there's a person standing there that I can't see, but it's in like a big red trench coat from the back, and she's looking away towards the corner of the house. And there's dogs and cats everywhere, big dogs, and I can see that they're gnawing at something, eating something on the ground. And as I go around to the corner to see, I'm angry, and I'm trying to get everybody away from what's being attacked. And as I get closer, I can see that the skin is being peeled away from this animal. And I can't tell what animal it is, but I can just see that the animal is not putting up a fight. And towards the front where the skin is being peeled from, I can see that it is a sheep. It's a lamb. It's the head of a lamb. And the lamb just turns and looks at me, and it doesn't fight, and just lets those wolves, those dogs, just shred him. And then the person turns and looks at me, and it's a woman. And she has teeth like a vampire would. Or that's how I imagined it. The best way I know how to describe it. And she just had blood pouring from her, off of her mouth. And she's coming at me. And I start praying towards her in the name of Jesus, casting her away. And she keeps getting closer to me, but she won't touch me. She knows she cannot touch me. But she's trying to intimidate me and attack me. So I go back up the steps and into the door, and I slam the door shut, and these wooden planks just bolted off. And as I'm retreating and hiding, they're beating on this door, and finally they break through this door. And they just keep coming closer and closer and closer. And the woman gets literally like a foot from me, and she's not talking or anything, but I feel it, that she is telling me she can get to me. She can't attack me right now, but she can get to me. So what I think this dream means is, I was slacking. I was taking time away from God to do my own thing, in a way, slacking in my prayer life, slacking in my reading in church. And I think that this was a warning, a wake-up call to me. And maybe it's a wake-up call for other people. Maybe other people are meant to hear this. But I just felt really compelled to share this story with someone, with everyone. If you need prayer, I'm happy to pray for you. I would appreciate your prayers as well. But the main thing I want you to take away from this, that there is more to life. If you're trying to fill a void like I was with alcohol, with encounters with women, or with the opposite sex, whatever you're trying to do to fill that void, and it's not working. It may work temporarily, but it's not a permanent fill. The permanent fill is right here. permanent fill is when you give your life to Jesus, when you tell him that I'm done living my way. I don't want to feel like this. Save me. Just call out to him. Let him know that you need him. You know, that's all he wants. We are meant to live with God. We are meant to have a relationship with Jesus, and he's right there knocking. He's knocking and knocking and knocking. You just have to open the door and say yes. And once you do, you're going to feel that overwhelming peace. All those holes in your heart are going to be gone. Sometimes it happens instantly. Sometimes it takes some time. But Jesus can heal you. He will heal you. He wants to heal you. You just have to accept him. So I'm encouraging you, if you don't know Jesus, just talk to him. Ask him just to reveal himself to you. Ask him for his help. Feel free to reach out to me. You can message me on, I'm going to try to post this video as many places as I can to reach as many people as I can. We all need help right now. We all need to know we're not alone. There is a battle going on in the spirit realm that we can't see daily. It's just so important that we take time to talk to each other, let each other know we're not alone, and to just spread the word of Jesus. He is our Savior. He can save us from anything. He wants to save you, and he wants to heal you. All things are possible through him. So that's the last thing I just want to say. God loves you. Jesus loves you. I love you, and I hope this message helps somebody.